everyone and welcome to episode 78 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Cardiff City. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today we get ready for the 2029-2030 season in the Premier League, and also it will be our first season in Europe as well. And of course, the Manchester City job is going to become available with Carlo Ancelotti retiring in a month's time. Will we get tapped on the shoulder for that? If you're looking forward to finding out, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we get to this point off the back of our last few games in the season. In yesterday's episode, those games were against Norwich and Watford. If you missed those, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Frustrating results in those games did mean we did not make our way into the top four. But before we do get into some news that has happened off the back of that, first we're going to run through some results from the FA Cup and the European competitions, as we didn't get quite far enough to bring those to you guys yesterday when we did get into our end of season review to finish the episode. So first off, we'll see who did win those final competitions at the end of last season. First up, there was the FA Cup final, which was a Manchester derby. Of course, if United won this, they would have got into Europe, despite the fact that they did finish in the bottom half of the table this season. But as you can see, Manchester City did pick up a 1-0 win to send out Carlo Ancelotti in style. So that does mean that the team that finished 8th in the Premier League is going to get some European football this season, unlike last season where Everton stuffed things up for us at Cardiff. And going over now to have a look at who won the European competitions. The Champions League final was between Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain. Bayern Munich picked it up 3-2 after extra time, so no involvement from any English teams in that one. Going down to the Europa League, Chelsea made the final, but they lost it 1-0 to RB Leipzig. And then going down to the Conference League, and this time there was a English winner, Manchester United, as you would have expected being in that competition. They picked up a 5-1 win, so in the end they are going to have some European football to look forward to next season in the Europa League. So those were the winners of the FA Cup and the European competitions from last season. As you can see, English teams with a pretty good record in the Conference League in particular. And the first bit of news for today's episode, if we go over to the inbox, we qualified for the Champions League even though we finished 5th. I'm pretty sure this is because of the new league group phase that they do have in the Champions League in 2029. Of course, it does kick in a few seasons into a save, and I do think because the Premier League is quite high and England are quite high in terms of the coefficient, that the top 5 do usually get Champions League spots. Did not realise that during yesterday's episode. So despite the fact we bottled things completely, we are still going to end up in the Champions League, albeit not too sure if I like it that much, because I thought we would have had a really good winning chance in the Europa League. Not so sure in the Champions League. Also doesn't actually have any impact on our transfer budget, doesn't bump it up at all. But we are going to end up in the Champions League this upcoming season and not in the Europa League. So some kind of good news, albeit, as I said, maybe would have had more of a winning chance in the Europa League. But with that news out of the way, we'll start to get stuck into some transfers. As I've mentioned over the last few episodes, definitely looking for a striker probably first up in this transfer window. We do have about £65 million to spend, and our goal scoring last season off the back of a very good goal scoring first season in the Premier League was not that good. We certainly shored things up defensively, but the 10th worst bang middle in terms of goals scored. Ideally, that will improve for this upcoming season. So I think that's going to be the first target, and from there we'll see what else does happen. But that will definitely be what we're going to try and do for this first signing, with £65 million in the bank. And we've gone forward to the start of June, and as I suggested, our first signing of this window is about to take place. I already had it in motion before we did get that information that we are actually going to be in the Champions League for next season. And as I pretty heavily suggested as well, it is a striker, Shane Gallagher, a Scottish striker out of Burnley in the Championship. Did have some other offers from teams like Wolves and Middlesbrough, but thankfully, with us being in Europe, he has decided to join us, with us having played a deep lying forward this past season when we did find our best form late in the season. He looks really well suited to that, and also as a complete forward which is what the tactical style suggested we should be playing. So he does look like a very, very good signing, albeit his goal scoring form in the Championship only okay, but has been improving for Burnley. Hopefully, when he comes up to the Premier League, he can make an instant impact and be a bit more efficient in front of goal and help us out going forward a bit more than Marco Blun and Alejo Veliz have done over this past season. So that's going to be our first signing of this transfer window, Shane Gallagher, for only £29.5 million. Certainly still have quite a bit of money left in the bank to do some more business, but that's the big area of concern which will hopefully now be fixed as Shane Gallagher will join us as our new first choice striker. And only a few days off the back of that first signing in this transfer window, we did of course mention a few times over these past few episodes, Carlo Ancelotti is leaving Manchester City. It has just happened in game, and if we go over and have a look at our managerial profile, we are wanted by Manchester City. So because of that, this could be a very interesting episode all of a sudden. There's quite a few managers from the Premier League, to be fair, who are wanted by Manchester City. But with that in mind, I think it might not be the worst idea here to throw in an application for that Manchester City job. Also, the Tottenham job is available, but Tottenham aren't that good. Manchester City, they have the likes of Erling Haaland still at the club. They've got a really good team still, the likes of Ruben Dias. They've got Rodri, they've got Kimmich, they've got Chilwell, they've got Foden. It is just a ridiculously good team having someone like Erling Haaland there, coming from a team which did struggle to score goals last season. That should help us out quite considerably as a manager, so I think we might look to make the jump potentially here and apply for this Man City job, whether we get it or not too sure, but the fact that these guys do want us does suggest we might be in with a decent chance. We're going to view this job advert. They want us to play attacking football, sign high rep players, play possession football, entertaining football, high tempo pressing football, all that stuff we did try and do last season at Cardiff, so it does actually look like quite a good fit. 5-star reputation clubs that should have no issues trying to sign players. We'll apply for this job and see if City do come back with a job interview for us. And a week later, off the back of applying for that Manchester City job, as you can see, we have been offered a job interview. Apparently, they do have some reservations about our ability to be in charge there because we've been slightly reluctant to making set pieces part of our approach. We did do that our first couple of seasons though at Cardiff, so not too sure where they've got that from, albeit I suppose our fans have been a bit on our case about that over the last few seasons in the Premier League as well. But still, that's definitely something we can do if they want us to. But let's get stuck into this interview and see if we do have a chance potentially of making the move to the Etihad Stadium. And here we go, the border pleas that we have shown up for this one. A few questions, so we're glad that they've given us the chance to answer these. Having never managed a club of our stature and reputation before, can we make a convincing case as to why that should be overlooked? I think we'll use that first answer there. We've been building up with smaller clubs in preparation for a job like this. Apparently our managerial experience lacks variety in their opinion. Why have we only worked with a small selection of teams now? I do feel like we've been somewhat loyal to clubs. We've only actually looked for a different job when there's been that wanted symbol above our head and just been a bit of fear of missing out in those circumstances. So I think we're going to try and somewhat lie here and say we have actually shown loyalty to every club that we've been at, and we do consider that to be a good thing. Hopefully Man City would want us here for a while. We've done some highly impressive work at our current club. Why do we want to move on? I think we'll say it's time for me to take the next step, and hopefully that can be here. It would be quite a change for us if we were to leave our current job to come here. Are we confident of handling such a big jump? We didn't actually finish that far behind these guys last season, but I suppose I understand because Cardiff have not been in a European competition so far. I think we'll say we're ambitious and want to work at the very top level, because that one sounds a little bit less wingy than that other option did. Why have we felt it acceptable to apply for a number of jobs while still employed? That's because clubs have wanted us, but I can't say that. So I think we might just say it was our choice and we stand by the decision. It should not matter to anybody else. You've previously been embroiled in media controversy, citing your inability to command the support of your players. Don't think that's actually been much of an issue, but I think we'll say that has been the exception rather than the rule. I think that one's actually quite a truthful answer this time around. Would you be comfortable working with their director of football? He looks like a very good doff, so we'll definitely be happy to work with him. We understand the importance of having the right backroom staff, so how much of a budget would we need? I think we'll say here we might want to make a fair amount of changes just in case their staff are a little bit rubbish, because Manchester City should certainly have the budget to allow us to make those changes. Now, here is the club's vision. We saw a bit of this stuff when we did apply for this job, but going down that little bit further, we'll have a look at the actionable objectives, work within the wage budget, spend the original transfer budget, that should be no issue at all, sign young players to develop for a profit, maintain the club status as the most reputable club in England, and going down further, maintain the best youth system in the country and world. Also, we want to only offer 1-year contracts for players over 33, 2-year contracts over 31, 4-year contracts minimum for first team players, 3-year contracts for players over the age of 29 maximum. So certainly a few things there in terms of contracts for what does look like it might be a little bit of an aging squad. And going down a bit further, we can start to see what the board do expect. No doubt they'll just want us to win all the competitions, win the Premier League, win a domestic cup. Interesting to see no mention of the Champions League. Are still in the past season, so of course they can't actually tell us stuff for next season, which is a little bit frustrating. No word there on a transfer budget or a wage budget. We won't ask any requests before we do go there. And that is the interview. Feel like that went fairly well, and we'll see what does happen off the back of that. We'll leave this meeting and see what does pop up in the inbox. And I notice one more item than we did see before, and now we might be one of the favourites for this job, albeit 9/2, still not that great odds, but certainly now right in the mix for this one. And we'll see what does happen if Manchester City offer us a job off the back of that interview, and maybe we will be leaving Cardiff in today's episode. And while we wait to see who Manchester City do go with for that job at the Etihad, we are still going to play through this transfer window just in case we don't get that job. And Bournemouth have come in with one of the most take the mickey offers I have ever seen in Football Manager. They want to sign Khalid El-Bloshy for £3.5 million plus Louis Manzano, who is a decent striker. But come on, that is a absolutely embarrassing offer there. We have told them to get stuffed, and I actually want to tell them to get stuffed a little bit more, albeit Khalid El-Bloshy is a player quite highly wanted this transfer window by some clubs, as well as Bournemouth, who are coming up from the Championship, so very ambitious from those guys, but by Arsenal and Bayern Munich. And he does have a release clause in his contract of 80 million for clubs in the Champions League, albeit we are one of those now. But maybe that might get triggered, and that would certainly make life tougher for us here at Cardiff this season, might push us out the door that little bit more if we do get a job offer in this off-season. But our first offer has come in for El-Bloshy, albeit an absolute joke of one. We'll see if one of those big teams come in to try and take him off our hands here at Cardiff. And not too long off the back of that take the mickey offer from Bournemouth for El-Bloshy, now they've done one for Blaine Quezada, although thankfully he has no interest in joining Bournemouth, seeing as at the moment they are still listed as a Championship club. But Bournemouth at the moment, they can go and do one with these embarrassing transfer offers for our young promising midfielders. And off the back of those take the mickey offers from Bournemouth, finally some more serious ones here, but this time it is for Khalid El-Bloshy. It comes from Arsenal, 53 million. We have got all transfer offers being rejected for him, but with that release clause of 80 million, these teams are starting to get warmer. We'll see if they do go up to that over the course of today's episode, and maybe there's a chance we do lose our Qatari star boy here at Cardiff City. And going forward a bit further, we've got our first departure in this transfer window here from Cardiff City. It is our backup goalkeeper from the last few years, and Carl Jacob Hein. Of course, his contract was going to expire, but he did play enough in the latter half of last season when Mexada was injured to actually be able to gain a new work permit. So we did put an offer for him to continue as the backup goalkeeper here, but unfortunately he has chosen to go down to the Championship and be a starter for Huddersfield. So that does mean now we are going to be on the lookout for a new backup goalkeeper, but Carl Jacob Hein is leaving, but on a free transfer. So that does mean our next bit of business in this window will be to look for a new backup to Francisco Mexado. And wouldn't you know, there's been another big come-in for Khalid El-Bloshy yet again, though it is Bournemouth from the Championship, although soon to be the Premier League, having won the playoff to come up, and this time a far more serious offer. A fair play of them, obviously. Heard what I was saying earlier, 60 million this time, they're not that far away. They're getting warmer. Will someone like Arsenal, Bayern Munich, or maybe even Bournemouth, although to be fair, with no Champions League football, they can't trigger that release clause, but still, teams getting a bit closer to El-Bloshy's release clause. And after dealing with that City job interview as well as those offers that were coming in for El-Bloshy, we are finally going to make our second signing of this transfer window, and with Carl Jacob Hein leaving us as the backup, we are signing a new one from Luton Town, and Jacob Dyer is quite young and 19 years old, is worth quite a bit and 12.5 million up front, so it does mean our transfer budget will go down to around about the £20 million mark. Certainly still enough to get another player in, but Jacob Dyer will join us as our new backup goalkeeper and is one for the future as well, so hopefully he might be here for a while at Cardiff City. We'll actually go forward so you can see what he does look like once he does join the club, because for some reason the star rating has disappeared for him. So going back, and there you can see him, only 2-star current ability, but that potential very, very high, which is the reason why we did sign him. Decent looking goalkeeper at 19 years old, but obviously mainly signed for that potential, and also homegrown player as well, which might be useful in the future for European competitions. But he joins us, having spent some time mainly at South Shields to start his career, and then most recently at Luton Town, where he didn't get that much game time last season, but did keep 5 clean sheets in 8 appearances. So certainly a player for the early stages who will be a backup to Francisco Mexedo, but from there, once he gets a bit older, should be able to step in to that starting role. And there is our second signing for this transfer window, Jacob Dyer. And we continue to wait for an answer from Manchester City about that job now coming up towards the end of June. So what we do wait, we are going to continue to make transfers here at Cardiff as if we are still going to be here for next season. Now, I have decided we might look to improve in the attacking midfield area. This was actually our area where we scored the most goals last season through Facundo Farias. And because of that, ideally, I was kind of looking at someone who could almost play as a shadow striker for this upcoming season, so that maybe even if our striker wasn't scoring goals, we could still get some output. I tried to sign a guy out of Bulgaria, but unfortunately, even though he is playing at the Euros, could not get a work permit. And this guy, Emil Force, did come up for just over 10 million thanks to his release clause. So we are going to buy him when that will take up most of the remainder of our transfer budget, unless we do sell some more players here at Cardiff City. But Emil Force, yet again, we have to go for, because unfortunately, we have just had to refresh some scouts since the start of this transfer window. That is why you can't see those star ratings before we do sign these players. So we'll go for, but for what he cost, he is actually quite a good player, 4-star current ability and potential in that attacking midfield role. Really good attacking midfielder on support, not bad finishing either. At 10, certainly an upgrade on the likes of Farias as well as Ruben Colwill, albeit with European football now here at Cardiff City. Ruben Colwill, probably the player out of those two we do want to keep seeing, as he is homegrown at club, but he is slightly injury prone, but apart from that, enjoys big matches, looks like a good pickup, right in line with our transfer policy, under 23 years old, and for just over £10 million, there is our third signing of this transfer window here at Cardiff City in Emil Forst. And a few days off the back of that third signing, thankfully we have continued to make the signings here at Cardiff City, because that job interview with Manchester City, despite the fact that they did want us, it was unsuccessful. They were satisfied with the plans we put in place, but ultimately decided we weren't the right person to take the club forward. That would be the former Arsenal manager and Sergio Conceição. So he these days has ditched Arsenal for Manchester City. So of course that now means, while Manchester City's off the table, Arsenal is not. And if we go over and have a look at the job centre, we are the favourite for the Arsenal job. Now, we should have really finished above these guys last season. They come back and got a draw off us in our third to last game, off the back of us coming from 2-0 down, and that really cost us one of those automatic spots for the Champions League for this season, albeit that has not hurt us too much. But Arsenal, the season before last, were good enough to win the Champions League and Premier League in the same season, that is really, really tempting. Very similar to Manchester City in terms of reputation, training facilities and whatnot. Their squad maybe not quite as strong, but still, that front four, Jesus, Martinelli, Odegaard and Saka, is very lethal, as well as Ramsdale in goal. So it does look like still quite a strong Arsenal team. Quite funny to see there too. They have absolutely thrashed Eastern Suburbs 7-0 at the Club World Cup. Poor old Eastern Suburbs getting drawn in a group alongside them and Bayern Munich. So to be fair, they are still in that Club World Cup, about to take on Barcelona. But this might be a job as well, which could be calling out to us. Obviously, if we do apply for it, it does look like we might be more likely to get this one, already being the favourite for it, without having applied for it. So we'll just check in here on what the job advert does say. It does look quite similar to that Man City one, albeit a few less things compared to that, and also lots of things that do correlate between them and Cardiff City. Don't sign players over the age of 30, sign players under 23, and play that high tempo pressing football. Yet again, they want us to make the most of set pieces, which we certainly can do if we click that on the tactics screen. But that might be a job that we do actually look to apply for, and we'll just see if they can try and woo us to leaving Cardiff City and going to London to the Emirates. I'm definitely expecting a job interview though from these guys, obviously, seeing as we were already the favourite for this job. And if we do go over and have a look at our profile, also wanted by them as well, albeit we saw before that is not the be-all and end-all. But maybe we won't be moving to Man City, but instead we could be going to Arsenal, a team who recently did win the double, the Premier League and the Champions League. And Arsenal must really want us, because only 2 days off the back of applying for that job, they have now offered us an interview. It does look like quite similarly to the Man City one. They do have a few reservations because we don't want to make set pieces a part of our game, but still, they do like the fact here that we don't look to sign players older than 23. So this one might be a bit more of a goer than that Man City job was. In this one, they might come in for us quite hard by the looks of it, having already given us a job interview only a few days off the back of that job becoming available. So we attend this interview, no doubt it's going to be quite similar to the one that we did have at Manchester City, and indeed the first question is exactly the same. So we're going to give the exact same answer, and off the back of this we'll see what their next question is. And again, they're asking us why we don't have much variety in our career to date. Yet again, I think we'll tell them we've shown loyalty, even though you could argue we haven't shown that much loyalty, but still, that does sound like the best answer. We'll just lie a little bit to hopefully try and get our offer from Arsenal for this job. Next up, we've done some highly impressive work at our current clubs. Yet again, why do we want to move on? We want to take that next step, and hopefully that can be here. The next question does actually look a little bit different. Some people might be inclined to say that you're taking somewhat of a risk by leaving what is considered to be a safe job, and they are 100% right, because as long as we avoid relegation at Cardiff City, we are safe here at Arsenal. I imagine things will be a lot tougher in terms of expectations. But what was our thought process behind the decision? I'll just move my head so you guys can actually see the answers to this one, but I think we're going to say I'm keen to keep progressing, and I'd love the opportunity to do that here. So certainly a different question coming there from Arsenal compared to Manchester City. You've developed a reputation for applying for other jobs while still employed. What's that all about? Again, I think we're going to say it was my choice, and I stand by those decisions, because each time we were wanted by the club that we did apply for, just responding to those whispers that were out there. Are we able to ease the worries about losing the backing of the dressing room? We'll say that one exactly the same like we did at City. There's the director of football, quite happy to work with him in terms of budget for staff changes. Again, we'll say we want to make a fair amount of changes, and we'll see what does come off the back of this question, seeing as we haven't actually ticked over into the new season. First up, the board culture. We saw that before. They want us to work within the wage budget, increase commercial revenue, which I don't really know should be a manager's duty, but still that's something which is desired, and also spend the original transfer budgets are quite similar there to both Cardiff and Manchester City. Going down a bit further, they want us to offer minimum 4-year contracts for first team players, maximum 1-year contracts for players over 32, and 2 years over the age of 30. That's definitely something that we can do. Yet again, it might be a team a little bit older compared to what we do have at Cardiff City. Maybe that's something we do need to consider. Maybe the Cardiff job is just a bit easier seeing as we are quite ready built for the future with all the young players that we do have. Going down further is their 5-year plan. You can see they've got some training facilities and youth facilities which are going to be improved over the course of this season. Not actually sure what they want us to do for this season, but at the end of next season, they do want us to challenge for the Premier League title, and off the back of that, they want us to win it and continue to win it. So we are going to tell them we're quite happy with that. They expect us to challenge for Champions League qualification this season. That sounds fine. Ideally, we could actually challenge for the title, but I think we'll play things safe here and say that competing for Champions League qualification should be fine. Now the juicy details we didn't get with Manchester City, a transfer budget of £93.5 million. Very happy with that. Of course, we have just spent close to £65 million at Cardiff City, so we don't mind spending a bit more at a different club to try and improve that squad if we can. And the wage budget is absolutely massive compared to Cardiff, where ours is only just over £1 million a week. Theirs is just over £5 million a week. That could be a deciding factor. Obviously, they've got a lot more pull for those high reputation players, but it does take a long time to build up a wage budget like that so that you do have one of the better teams going around. That is quite a big advantage that Arsenal do have over us currently here at Cardiff City. We're going to tell them we are certainly happy with that wage budget. Any other requests? I think not. And that is the job interview for Arsenal. No inbox items off the back of that one. But we'll see if they come back to us, and maybe we'll have a decision to make between Cardiff and Arsenal. And about 5 days off the back of that job interview with Arsenal, they have come to us asking for some backroom staff advice and for things to change for us to be taking over. I think we're going to have a decision to make very, very shortly. And our players have just returned for the start of pre-season here at Cardiff City, but also a day off the back of making those backroom staff suggestions that we have done. There are quite a few of them too. We certainly used up most of that fair budget that we did ask for. Arsenal have come in for us in the wage. Oh, that's a big pay rise for us. We're currently on $25,000 a week here at Cardiff City. They are offering us £110,000 a week. And that transfer budget is still at £94 million, which is actually a slight surprise because I have noticed that Arsenal, the day after we had that job interview with them, for some reason, they continued to make a transfer without having a manager. They have signed Albert Sambi Lokonga for £53 million, which if we go over and have a look at his history, is a terrible, terrible bit of business. They sold him to Norwich for £5 million 4 years ago. They have paid about 11 times that to get him back. I do think he is a deep-lying playmaker, so I suppose that's why they were coming in for players like Khalid Al-Bloshy here at Cardiff City. But why they wouldn't wait for us to join them before they signed a player like that for that much money, I do not know. Hopefully that transfer budget is still going to be around about that £94 million mark, but that is a little bit concerning. We might have an expensive player we don't want there at Arsenal for this upcoming season, but it does mean we do have a decision to make, and I think I might actually need to sleep on this just a little bit and see if we do want to make the jump here from Cardiff City, seeing as both clubs are in the Champions League. We weren't that far behind them last season, probably should have actually finished above Arsenal. But the other thing, of course, is that reminder that this Arsenal team just 2 seasons ago, the season before last, did win both the Premier League and the Champions League in the same season not that long ago. So hopefully they would be a team we can lead to glory fairly shortly after we do take charge. But as I said, I think we might save that decision for tomorrow's episode, albeit if I had to just go one way right now, probably slightly in favour of making the move from Cardiff to Arsenal. And one of the reasons for that, season preview-wise, Cardiff still expected to be quite far down there in 14th. Arsenal right up there as a title challenger. But I think that's where we're going to leave things for today off the back of Arsenal offering us a job. Will we go you'll find out at the start of tomorrow's episode, or when you do click on the thumbnail, because that will probably be a dead giveaway if you enjoyed today's episode with those transfers at Cardiff City, as well as the job interviews with Manchester City and this job offer from Arsenal. Then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and have been enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And tomorrow it could be the first episode at Arsenal in this FMOE save. It does mean this might be our last one at Cardiff City, where we have done a really good job after taking these guys on when they were down just outside of the relegation zone. Some great players, and to be fair, we might look to take some of these guys with us to Arsenal, albeit a bit unfair considering these guys do have Champions League football to look forward to next season. And also, we probably will have a look at Al Bloshy indeed, of course, with Arsenal having put in a few bids for him, albeit with that signing of Sambi Lokonga, maybe they don't need him anymore. But that is certainly a bit of a weird move there by Arsenal, making a transfer without a manager in charge at the time that they did put that bid in and have that one accepted. But still, we'll come back tomorrow and maybe we will be going to the Emirates into London to join up with Arsenal FC. And if we do, we'll have some more transfers before the start of the new season. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.